Welcome to another edition of Viking Voices. We've got a special NFL Viking football edition of Viking Voices today with special guest Matt Overton. Matt, thanks for joining us. And from Nashville, you're getting ready for a big wild card playoff game this weekend against the Ravens at home. Man, we are excited to talk to you. We got a little list of things to go over, but how are things going? How are things going in Nashville for you? And how exciting is it to be in the playoffs?
Man, it's beyond words how excited I am. Just a year ago, I was at home sitting on the couch, hoping to get a call to be on a team, and here I am, preparing to go into the playoffs again. After a 6-year drought of not being in the playoffs, I've been fortunate enough to experience the feeling and excitement of what the playoffs really mean. It's really special to be on my third team and experiencing something new with a new group of guys. It's a lot of fun. So definitely not taking it for granted, because I know how hard it is to get to the postseason, and especially winning a division. Nothing's ever guaranteed, and just it's been a thrill being here. Just the way the year's gone for me personally, but to be a part of this team has been really exciting, and it's a lot of joy playing football again.
A little bit of background for our listeners. Matt, you were a long snapper for the Indianapolis Colts. Then you kind of got on with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and believe you had a little bit of a training camp or a tryout with the Chargers. But week 6 this year, you're living in Nashville. Well, to kind of run us through, the Titans needed a kind of some depth at long snapper. They called you, and all of a sudden now you're in the AFC Wild Card game.
Yeah. So going into this year, with COVID and everything being kind of pushed back and everything on Zoom, the NFL really had to kind of follow the model that, baseball did a little bit, NBA, and, kind of how they had their bubble system. Well, it's a little more difficult when you have a 60-man roster as opposed to, 20 to 25 guys or whatever it may be. And we knew realistically going into if football was going to happen that the bubble idea probably wasn't going to work, or the players just weren't going to agree to do that. So there was a lot of discussion going into the season, like, how is it going to work? And so part of that was talking about, how to expand rosters and how to, with the COVID protocols, how to get players ready to go if teams need guys due to injury or whatever the case may be, or guys testing positive for COVID. So I knew, even though I wasn't signed earlier this year going into the offseason, I had a pretty strong feeling that I'd get an opportunity, just because they've expanded practice squad rosters and expanded it to veteran players like myself. So typically in a normal season, I wouldn't be practice squad eligible just because I have too much experience. So I was pretty confident that, with the restrictions of COVID, if you tested positive, that your guy would have to potentially sit out a game or two. So teams would then, cover their bases by signing more specialists, more quarterbacks, whatever it may be. And so it just so happened that, the Titans were one of the first teams that really started covering their bases. They got hit with several positive tests early in the year. And I just so happened, I was in my wife and I lived in India at the time, but we were in the process of moving to Nashville. And, the Titans called and they wanted to bring me in for a workout. And so I had to enter the COVID protocol. I was probably here for just shy of 2 weeks of just being in testing. And so in order for me to even step foot on the field to do a workout for the team, I had to pass 6 negative tests.
Wow.
And so I was already here. They felt comfortable with me living at home. They didn't need to house me anywhere in a hotel or anything like that. So I stayed patient. I stayed in shape. I stayed ready. And I think, early, I don't know, week 4, week 5 or whatever it may be, they signed me to their practice squad. And so for me, it was a completely new role because I'd never been on a practice squad. And here I am in my 9th year in the league. And serving the team in a different way. I wasn't playing, but I was practicing and just staying prepared for if my name were called. And so, again, with COVID protocol, like I was essentially their safety net for the team. So if their long snapper tested positive for COVID, that I would be the guy that they would have play. So with that being said, I was away from the team, so I was on my own schedule. So I was on the team, but it really didn't feel like it, just because I was practicing literally by myself or with a couple other guys. Like they kept me, the practice squad kicker, practice squad punter, and the practice squad quarterback all on the same. The four of us would go out and practice and stay away from the team, because if we tested positive, we don't want to, trace that to the team. So it was very strange, very weird for me to get adjusted to, but I was so blessed just to be on a team, and lo and behold, the team where, it was considered home. So I know my wife and I going into this year, we were just talking about what, if we could have our way, what would football be like, or what it would look like. And I said, it'd be great to either be on the Colts again, the Titans, or go back to either Seattle or the 49ers or something like that, because that would be home for me as well. Yeah. And lo and behold, God bless us with the opportunity. I worked out for the Colts, and I worked out for the Titans, and got on the practice squad here in Tennessee. And then, gosh, it's gone by so fast. I can't even remember week 9 or something like that I get activated to the active roster. And have been playing since. And so it's been great to be a part of this team. I'm familiar with a few guys. Steven Gostkowski, our kicker, have some experience with him. And there's a few guys that I played with that were either on the Jaguars or on the Colts, or even when I played in the United Football League 10 years ago, Jim Haslett, our linebackers coach here, he was my head coach for that team. So it's crazy how small the football fraternity really is. And so it's just been awesome being back on the field and being a part of a winning team, and being on my third AFC South team, and winning my third AFC South championship with a different team. So it's been pretty cool, and it's pretty special to be playing in January when half the league is already packed up and going home, and we're still preparing and ready to play this weekend.
Yeah, so 100 games under your belt when you entered this year. You're at 109. You were a true veteran, so kind of stepping into a new scenario where you're out on your own, and then you finally get the call, because I imagine a lot of long snappers are not on practice squads and under a normal year, correct?
On a normal year, maybe one team would have that, but typically no.
Well, it's awesome that you got that opportunity. I got to talk to you about Sunday's game. I saw all the highlights, and game-winning field goal to clinch the division at the Texans. You're a big part of that. It was an interesting backstory that you had a kicker that was making his NFL debut, and he went 5 for 5 on PATs and 2 for 2 on field goals. But you have a big part in that. And and what was that feeling like when you delivered that snap perfectly and you kind of pushed ahead and you saw that ball clank off the upright and in? Well, it had to be one of the coolest moments of your career, and you've been part of a lot of cool things.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely special. So, to kind of dive into the scenario a little bit deeper, with Sam Sloman, our kicker, he was with the Rams earlier this year, and then was on the street, and he got put on our practice squad. So again, the Titans have been a team that were, they're covering their bases with, having a practice squad snapper, kicker, and punter on the team. And so Sloman has been on our practice squad for about, 5 or 6 weeks or so. And again, but I've never worked with him, and so when Gostkowski, our starting kicker, got a positive test for COVID, that's an automatic, for people that don't realize, when a guy tested positive, that's an automatic 10-day quarantine. So Gostkowski's out regardless. And so for teams that don't have a kicker or a quarterback for that, it's somebody to step in to that role, they have to find somebody either on another team, or if you bring a guy off the street as a free agent, it takes them 6 days to get through the protocol and onto a team. So if you lose a guy midweek, you don't have anybody to fill unless you have a practice squad guy. So again, that goes into, with Sloman, it was weird too, because our kicker tested positive, but then our punter was traced as a close contact. So they sent him home for the week just to be safe. So I worked with the practice squad punter, who I have some history with already, Trevor Daniels. He played a few games this year, and then Sam Sloman, the kicker. So this is my first time working with Sam, but we're working with a different holder. So we weren't able to work with Brett Kern, who is the punter holder, and we didn't get to work until walkthrough Saturday morning, and then pregame on Sunday. And people they kind of struggle. Oh, it's just a hold. Well, there's a lot of, it's timing. There's where the ball spotted and how it's held and the lean of the ball. There's a lot that goes into the dynamics of the operation of a field goal, a snap, kick, and hold. And so we really, the main work we got was pregame before the game. That was kind of when, you get the pregame juices going and you trying to get your timing right. But throughout the game, we just kept working on the sideline together, keeping each other encouraged. And there was the moment in time late in that game where we were down, and we just kept telling Sam, "Hey, man, stay ready, stay ready, stay ready. Stay in this game. It's far from over." And they kicked a tying 50-yard field goal with like less than 20 seconds left in the game, and then our offense took a deep shot down with Tannehill, our quarterback, and AJ Brown, our Pro Bowl receiver, caught it at like the 19-yard line. That's where we ended up kicking our field goal. And with less than 20 seconds, we were able to get in field goal position. And so we went out there for the game-winning kick, and of course they iced the kicker with the timeout, but we still snapped it, and he kicked it and he made it. So that was good, a little confidence booster. But then we go again, and sure enough, the snap felt good. I could see the trajectory of the ball when I lifted my head up, and it was looking like it was going to be good. So I celebrated early. Like I was celebrating. I turned around to go celebrate with him, but then like there was just like this eerie silence. Like I didn't realize that it was gonna doink off the upright, and I saw the reaction. And I was like, what? I could have swore that ball was going in. And then it was like just that delayed reaction, waiting for the referees to give the signal that was good. And then we just had an awesome celebration with everybody running on the field. So I've been a part of some pretty big kicks with Vinatieri in the past. But this one was pretty significant in the fact that it was for a championship. It was to send us, we had a good chance of making it to playoffs if we didn't win that game, but the fact that we were able to host a home game is pretty meaningful. And just being a part of a play that helps your team win is always special. So, as a specialist, we're not on the field terribly too much, but these are the types of plays that you dream and prepare for.
You've been front and center for a lot of this year, watching Derrick Henry in his special season. Talk a little bit about the 2,000-yard rusher, MVP candidate with, there's a lot of good NFL football players, but he's right up there. What's it been like to watch him just to do his job and be professional, and to see one of those performances in person? I know you've seen a lot, like I said, 109 games in the NFL, but what's it been like to watch him do his thing every Sunday?
I mean, he's just special. In a passing league, it's pretty. I mean, nowadays it's really, you don't have the Walter Paytons, you don't have the Barry Sanders, you don't have those guys anymore, because not to say that the run game isn't important, but it's just a passing league. I mean, we see quarterbacks passing over 5,000 yards. It's pretty common now. But for somebody to rush and to carry the ball 350 times and stay healthy and do it consistently, it's been pretty incredible to watch. And again, I've been on the other end where I'm on the other team. Most memorable is really when I was on the Jaguars and we were playing the Titans, and you see the highlights of him stiff arming 3 or 4 guys, breaking a 98-yard run. And I was on the sideline watching that, like, gosh, I can't believe that guy literally just did that to half our defense, and then to see him doing it, on his team. I mean, it's cool because it's one of those things where it's just like, he may only gain a yard or two here and there, but like you have that confidence, like, all right, as long as you keep giving the ball and the offensive line just keeps doing what they're doing, he's going to break one eventually. And it's been proven, and it's pretty incredible. And he does it with so much humility. He's not a flashy guy. He works his butt off, and it was pretty cool to see. I know in the game over Sunday, he had a fumble that, really gave the momentum to the Texans. And he doesn't fumble very often, and in the same game, he rushed for over 2,000 yards and broke that record and whatnot, and rushed for like 250 yards. And, celebrating in the locker room, he was pretty upset that he let his team down with that fumble, when he could be celebrating, the accolades of breaking 2,000 yards, which is, I think he's the 8th player in history to ever do that. But it goes to show like how much it means to him. And it was pretty cool. And like I said, he plays with a lot of humility, works hard every day. He never skips anything. And again, to be a running back in the NFL and to stay healthy and to run the ball as much as he does, it's pretty incredible to watch. And it's a potent weapon to have going into the postseason. And it's really cool to see him just continue to dominate games.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to watching you guys on Sunday. Big game we'll be watching out here on the West Coast. We're going to pivot a little bit, and I just want to kind of talk to you about some of the things that I found out about you and getting to know you when you came to Western a few years ago and talked to some of our student athletes. And one of the things that I remember most about you is how much of a self-starter you are and how much of a motivator you are. And you talked about kind of putting YouTube videos out on snapping, but also that you're more than just a football player. You're a man of faith. You've had a lot of success with some community activities that you've sponsored. You're a successful business person and a realtor, I believe, and you're a husband and a soon-to-be father.
Yeah.
That's a long list of amazing things. What makes Matt so successful? I'm going to say it, successful in so many different areas. An NFL football player alone is amazing. But one of the things, you're so well-rounded. What goes into that to make Matt so successful?
I mean, really, I just think you kind of touched on a little bit, but my faith has always been something I always leaned on, just trusting in a greater plan than I could ever have myself. And, it stems from my family and my grandfather, which is pretty much the reason why I came to Western. So he was the head football coach at Puget Sound for, over 20 years. And so and he played at University of Washington. And so born and raised in California, but I spent every summer up on Vashon Island near Seattle. And I bled purple and gold forever. And then when my grandfather got sick of UW football, we were Cougar fans, and, especially when Mike Price was there, and because my grandfather coached at UPS with Mike Price. And then I would go to the Cougar camps every summer. And honestly, my dream at the time was either Notre Dame, UW, or Wazoo. And then I remember, when I was in junior college looking for an opportunity, I had an opportunity to walk on at Wazoo, but my grandfather knew Rob Smith at the time, because when my grandfather was coaching at UPS, he tried to recruit Rob to come to UPS, and, Rob went to UW. But so he called Rob and said, "Hey, my grandson, is a long snapper, DN, linebacker, wants to come check out the campus and the program." And at the time, I had two teammates at my junior college the year before transfer to Western, and so I kind of had some familiar faces to talk about the program with. And so I went on an unofficial visit one time just to see the campus, and honestly just fell in love with everything that Bellingham had to offer. And then I just felt right at home with my connection with my grandfather and Coach Smith and, the guys that I knew from my junior college. And it just felt like the right opportunity for me, even though I had aspirations to go Division I and whatnot. But I think really I learned a lot of, Division II, it's not a glamorous thing by any means, because it's the athletics they are competitive, but when you have aspirations to go beyond that, the odds are always stacked against you just because you're a Division II player. You're not Division I, and you were overlooked or you weren't big enough or fast enough or whatever the case may be. And so, I knew from the get go, my dream was always to make it to the NFL. And I think I pride myself on being a Division II athlete and a junior college athlete. And I've learned a lot from, those phases of my life. And I really, when I look back, if it wasn't for Mike Kanan, coming out of Western as an All-American, and who knows if I would have gotten an opportunity, because it really was him that gave me a little bit of hope and put me in a position where I helped him work out for his pre-draft workout on campus. And so, and that got my name on the radar. But I think it just comes from, I was, my parents were divorced. So I was living with my mom for most of my life. He has a single parent, seeing her hard work and dedication. My dad's a police officer, seeing his hard work and dedication in his craft. My grandfather as a college football coach, and just having good mentors in my life and great supporters. And and then when I got to Western, just having I had some great coaches that believed in my ability and believed in my dreams. And I was able to, get some opportunities and take advantage of them. But, at the end of the day, when I first came out of Western and had my first taste of NFL, I got cut pretty quickly. The acronym, not for long, that's stands true for a lot of people. And that was me. And I just never gave up, and I just tell a lot of guys that are in my position coming out of school, like, there's, especially coming from a small school, like, the odds are going to be stacked against you, but, there's no right or wrong way to get to where you want to go. And sometimes you just got to take the long way road around the mountain, and just take advantage of every opportunity that comes, but, I just had to learn, if I didn't believe in myself, then nobody else would. So I just had to believe in myself, continue to keep working. And in the meantime, I was, fortunate enough to, get my foot in the door and just keep plugging away and never take a no for answers. So that, what you say about the YouTube thing, like, I was honestly posting my my snapping videos on YouTube as much as I can and emailing them to as many scouts and coaches as I could find. And I was pesty and persistent, I guess you can say, and it paid off in many ways. But and then just to I guess I have just taken that mentality into whatever I've tried to do, whether it's creating like a youth foundation, or now into real estate, and kind of setting myself up for what life looks like post career, or being a husband, being a dad soon, like just having that hard work mentality and dedication, and keeping my faith at the forefront at all times. So I like to share my story because it's different, it's unique, and I like to, like I said, I like to say that I've come from a smaller school, and where it's not common for guys to make it to the NFL from Division II. So I pride myself on being a Vike, and hope my story can inspire not just football players, but anybody that plays basketball or volleyball or whatever it may be.
Yeah. But you shared a lot of that with some of the student athletes when you're back on campus, and I know I enjoyed that. And looking back on it, you're a Pro Bowler. Like I said before, you played over 100 football games in the NFL. It's amazing. You were the long snapper for probably one of the best kickers of all time, Adam Vinatieri. You're going to the playoffs again now this year with the Titans. Some of this seemed a little bit like a dream. You mentioned that that your dream was maybe to go to Wazoo or UW or something like that. And now you're 109 games into an NFL career, and you're a success in so many areas. A little bit kind of seemed like a little bit of a dream sometimes. You got to pinch yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of relate this season to one of my first or early years with the Colts, because like coming into the Colts as a rookie and snapping for future Hall of Famer Adam Vinatieri was a little daunting at first, just because it was he had such a high standard, and I knew that my game and my ability had to rise too. And it's like, I don't want to screw up a snap for the best kicker of all time, so that pressure was heavy on me early on. But I learned from him early, just like, you just trust your hard work, and you really don't add any more pressure that because the game itself already brings a lot of pressure. So you just find a way to just trust your technique, trust your skills and ability. And when you go out there, it's just like second nature. It's like riding a bike, because we do so many reps that it really just becomes natural. And when you do have a bad play, you find the way to fight through mentally and get back on track, and you forget about it, and so it was special because I just remember being at home in high school watching Vinatieri kicking game-winning kicks in the Super Bowl, and then here I come, several years later, and now I'm playing with them, so there was definitely moments early in my career where I had to pinch myself. And I think this year I kind of tell my wife this, pretty often. Like, I just feel like this year has been really special because, I could have ended up anywhere. And lo and behold, God presented with the opportunity with the Titans, where I didn't have to leave home. I didn't have to leave my wife. I don't have to, because it does get hard on relationships and in your family. And especially this year where, with COVID and stuff, a lot of guys are living away from families. A lot of coaches are living from families. And so we're just so blessed to be here in Nashville, where we call home now, and playing for the Titans, and going back to the playoffs. So this year in particular, I found myself pinching myself because it does seem a little surreal that I'm back on a winning team, playing for my home team now, and going into the playoffs. So it truly is special.
Remember the Vikings 2005, 2006? You got any special memories of Bellingham and playing for Coach Smith, and anything that you want to share? I mean, we're going to get to a question in a little bit here on, how the football team unfortunately was shut down. But tell us a little bit about some of your favorite memories of being a Viking and going to battle with your teammates, and maybe the favorite spot on campus that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, like I said, man, the moment I stepped foot on Western's campus, my first time visiting Bellingham, I mean, the place is just beautiful, right? And so I just fell in love with it. And for the most part, it's a pretty big school. It just doesn't feel like it. It just feels very, very comfortable. You can find your way around pretty easily, so I think naturally when I got to Western, for my first spring semester, like, it was just, I gravitated to Red Square, and that's where everyone kind of congregated before they dispersed to class. Or I'm at Carver a lot. I know the landscape of the campus has changed quite a bit since I was there, but for the most part, I think it just felt very natural to me, very, very welcoming. And so some of my fondest memories really honestly are just obviously are related to football, but I enjoyed my days at Patton, went to Patton quite a bit. We did down like the Fairhaven a lot. I'm pretty upset because I never made it to Mount Baker, and I know that's a huge thing. I never made it up there, which is weird because I grew up like snowboarding and skiing and just never made my way up there. But going to Canada for the first time, I remember just going up there quite a bit and all that kind of stuff. And I was 19 at the time, and I think the legal drinking age was 19 for up in Canada. So we made our way up there a couple of times. But I mean, just the friendships I made, and I still have a lot of friends to this day. Junior Amavai, in particular, he lives in Indiana too. So it's crazy when I moved to Indy that I had a Viking alum with me right there in Indianapolis, who was a good friend at the time when we played. And I have a very fond memories of Coach Smith and, the battle in Seattle, which was really cool because, it's in Seahawks Stadium, it's against Central, and I never beat Central, which is something that still stings, but played in some really cool games. And then when Coach Robin Ross came and we went to the NCC for a year, that was a lot of fun, playing some top tier Division II football and traveling to North Dakota and, St. Cloud and all that kind of stuff. So that was really cool. But, I think the coolest thing really is seeing what, some of my former teammates are doing now. Pat McCann is wide receiver coach at Eastern Washington, doing a great job. I still stay in touch with Legi Suanoa, who's at Oregon State, and Kefense Henson, who's at Oregon State. I still talk to Robin Ross. I still talk to Eric Tripp. I think he might be still at Ferndale as the principal or the athletic director. Rob Smith occasionally, but it's just cool to see what guys are doing nowadays. And keeping in touch through Facebook or something like that. But I mean the memories of my time at Western are incredible, and it's a special place. And every time I visit, the Pacific Northwest, I try to make a point to go to campus just because it really was a special time for me. And my family still enjoys going there when they can, and they loved coming up to games and visiting. And I mean, it's just I can't speak highly enough about Bellingham and what Western did for me.
I didn't want to not ask this question because it is a big part of who you are, but it's unfortunate that Western cut the football program after the 2008 season. I was not here at the time, but the stories I hear is that the people that have been part of that athletic department for so long, the Paul Madisons, the Steve Cards, the Steve Brummels, Linda Goodrich, it was a really tough time to go through. There was decisions that were made above them. But there's a strong group of alumni, and I know there's a strong group of alumni that believe that football is so important to what made them who they are. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk about that. Jason Stiles has talked about it, Hall of Famer of ours. But I feel like it's appropriate to give you a chance to kind of say what Western football meant to you and what that decision, how that affected you, because, it is a big part of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just kind of echo what a lot of guys say. It was tough. It was very unfortunate how things got handled and how it went down. And I feel for the guys that were there during that time, or either they had a transfer. I know Junior was one of those guys who ended up transferring to Minnesota State. And I talked to other guys that had to go to other schools and whatnot, and or some guys just honestly just. That was the last time they ever played football. They just stayed at Western and they finished their academics there, and they got their degree, and that was it. I think the biggest thing that I feel that's unfortunate, just it's beyond the sport itself. It's just a sport like football just brings so many different people together for a common goal, and that's just to win games and become a team. And football, and especially at the college level, it's a big number. It's like 80 to 90 to 100 guys, not including staff and coaches and stuff. And it's a big operation. In the midst of that, you create so many you bring a lot of different people from all different walks of life together. And that's what athletics in general really is. It's just football is just on a kind of a bigger scale because you have so many more people involved. But I just think it was just it's one of those things where I think Western football was kind of on the rise, with the success and winning games. And it's tough already as it was, because when I was there, we had the round robin schedule, playing Central and Western Oregon and Humboldt State twice a year. And it's just, I think if Western Washington was in the Midwest where Division II football is pretty big, it would still be thriving, and it'd still be there today. But for whatever reason, the West Coast, has really decimated Division II sports, and it's hard, and it makes travel hard. It makes, opportunities for kids. They end up going elsewhere just because there are no other, outlets. And, my dad's college, Cal State Hayward, no longer has football. And, back in the 70s, 80s and 90s, Division II football in California was big time. I mean, it's just like the JUCO thing now. And so it is sad to see, and I'm sure Central Washington, they still struggle with trying to schedule games, and I do wish, and I still hope that football comes back to Western's campus, because it's a great tradition, and there's a lot of rich history with Western football, and a lot of people that care about it. And I think that and the thing is, there's a lot of really good talent in Whatcom County, coming out of Ferndale and those schools, and Bellingham, and I think Western could have a really good team, just with local talent and guys coming from other states and transferring. And again, once you get somebody from out of state on Western's campus, I think it's pretty hard to beat when you compare it to like Ellensburg or some of those other schools, right? I mean, Bellingham's got some cool things to offer, right? And I think Western could be extremely successful because it's a great academic school. and it's a very cool place to live. So I'm hopeful. Again, I have a lot of pride. Being the only Western guy in the league right now, and it was really cool to kind of be on that short list of Vikings who've made it. And so, early on, I was a little bitter and a little upset, but as time goes on, I've sat down with Card a lot, and I've had those discussions with him, and I still try to let bygones be good bygones. I'm still a Viking, regardless of whether football is there or not. Because I have so many great memories beyond football there at that campus, and I am proud to be a Vike because it provided me with an opportunity. Got my degree from there. And for the 3 years that I was there, it means a lot to me. So, I think for me, I miss the fact that we could all get together and go to a game and you can gather the alumni and reconnect and that kind of stuff. But maybe one day it'll come back. Who knows? There's crazy things that happen, and I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that it's a possibility down the road that it could happen. So, and again, if there's ever an opportunity to support a great cause and moving forward, I'll be there in the forefront with those guys and the Valhalla boys and help bring football back to Western.
Well, you're always so supportive, especially on social media, of all of our programs. And I know I appreciate it since I run a lot of those channels, but overall, I see a lot of our student athletes also see it. And we're very, very proud of you. And we're blessed to know you. It's been really cool to just follow your career and to follow, your posts on social media and how you're trying out for all of a sudden you're in the Jaguars locker room and you're showing your pair of cleats. There's a lot of pride that goes into that for the people that work in Carver Gym. Kevin Fenwick often talks about you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people, and we appreciate you. So I want to say that from me and from our department, thanks for carrying the flag. Thanks for being so supportive. And thanks for approaching a lot of this in such a great way, right? Positivity and kindness matters, and you are a torchbearer for all of that. I do have one last question for you, though. How's the grass coming along at your house?
Oh, geez, man. Yeah, so I mean, most people aren't going to know what you're talking about, but
that's the beauty of this. I always get to end on some fun, off-the-wall questions.
So I live in it's kind of like a townhome duplex. So I have a neighbor next to me that we share like a wall, right? But we both have our own little front yard parcel, and here in Tennessee they don't have irrigation systems because they don't need it, just because of the weather is so mild, and you get a lot of rain, you get a lot of sunshine. So you just plant your sod and you kind of let Mother Nature handle the rest, right? So I moved down here, and we use this place as like an Airbnb rental for most of the time that we had it. So as we're transitioning into living here full time, I noticed my grass wasn't looking quite like my neighbor's, because my neighbor lives here full time, and he's out there like every couple days, doing his little manicure on it and has his little trimmers out there. I'm like, dang, your grass looks good. And like the soil here is not really, it's really hard dirt. So it's like, you got to know what you're doing to have good grass. And so I hired a guy to come, like, hey man, you need to take care of my grass. You need to reseed it, whatever you need to do. I want to see to my neighbors right there that I want you to look like that, because mine's an embarrassment right now. And when guests come like to rent the house, like I want them to like not see this nasty dead front lawn as soon as that's the first thing they see. So we reseeded it, and it looked good for a while. And then, like, I'm not kidding, like within 24 hours, like one day it's just like it was just too hot or wasn't enough water or whatever. And again, you have to stay on top of it. And I didn't realize that this is a serious thing. And so we had to re-tilled it up and then reseeded it, and it looks great now. And so I mean, I was kind of jokingly just like sharing my lawn updates on Instagram for a while there. And I got excited when I saw little sprouts coming out of the dirt, and I was like, man, this is a new day. It's a good day. I got some grass coming in, and then, I was watering it every, twice a day, and it looks great now. It's winter here now. So like a lot of people's grass are gone dormant and dead, and won't spring up until the spring, but mine's still green. So I have a lot of pride in that, man. So the lawn update is pretty pretty it's strong right now, and it's looking good, man.
It's awesome, man. I'm a big lawn guy, so I follow that and I'm like, yes, another one.
It just goes to show, like, when you start transitioning into like the dad mode of your life, like the things that become important to you, I think lawn is kind of up there at the forefront of your checklist.
It is there, but Matt, I really enjoyed talking to you. I know Viking Nation's going to enjoy hearing from you. We wish you the best of luck this weekend in the playoffs and hopefully beyond. We'll be watching for number 47, game number 110 of your NFL career. Yeah. Good luck, buddy. Thanks for joining us, and go Vikings, man.
Hey, go Vikes. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.